This is the DALI EpiCore 11. And let me tell you right away that this might be the biggest home run to come out of DALI in the history of the company. At the price, it's making a mockery out of every other high-end speaker anywhere near its price point. And we think it will change the future landscape of high-end speakers. I know these are big words, but it's not only my opinion. It's the majority of the 8-man tall listening team that independently has been evaluating the EpiCore 11 here in this room.
I can easily see you slowly get to quite fall in love with these ones quite easily.
I think it's a tremendous speaker.
Very dynamic. It didn't feel like the speakers were challenged to keep up.
Vildt imponerende.
I closed my eyes and, it was just like the scene was 5 meters in front of me.
They really deliver, and I'm very happy for what DALI has done with it. I'm really impressed.
I like them.
Jeg er dybt imponeret. Jeg tror ikke, jeg har hørt noget, der... Det er jo fandme næsten ligesom at være til stede i salen med den dynamik og nærvær, der er i det. Det er da helt sindssygt.
The speakers was made available to us by Hi-Fi Klubben Denmark. Thank you guys.
So welcome back to another Dream Speaker review on Stjernholm Reviews, the audiophile entertainment channel that brings you honest, independent reviews. All we ask in return is that you, ever so gently, just tap those like and subscribe buttons that fuels the ego of the overworked AV consultant here and animate me to bring you even more awesome content. Use the link tree, that's your shortcut to everything Stjernholm Reviews. The mammoth undertaking of the Dream Speaker review series of reviews here on the channel, the carefully assembled listening team and I set out to evaluate some of the finest speaker offerings in the market from brave companies that are willing to put their best efforts in front of us without any demands, other than the speakers are a good match for the room in terms of performance and size naturally. The elite listening team convey their honest impressions.
It is in the jungle.
Meget ærligt. Det er som om, at nogle af de der numre, jeg synes normalt er sådan helt i bilen eksempelvis, de er meget
unprecedented insight and nuance, comparing all these masterful offerings in the same room with the same team, where we celebrate the love for music and work in speaker design. These are speakers where music-loving engineers have been given free rein to do their absolute best, leading to innovations that will set their mark on future, more affordable speakers too. In fact, EpiCore in this review is the first of such steps, trickling down the technology perfected for the DALI Core flagship speaker.
I would like to order a DALI Core for my apartment on the 8th floor. Yeah. No, there's no elevator. Is that a problem?
So let's find out where it all came from first. DALI, short for Danish Audiophile Loudspeaker Industries, was established in 1983 by none other than the Danish audio industry godfather, Peter Lingdorff, aka the Fromaster. Yes, this man has put his mark everywhere, setting things in motion, and he almost solely built the huge DALI factory in Nørager in Denmark, as we can see in this picture, where everybody else is clearly just standing there watching him work. Company history includes making great sound available for all budgets through speakers like the DALI 2 and this, the DALI 6, that was a dream of mine when I was a teenager, but also a landmark flagship speakers such as the DALI 40, Dakarbo, Skyline, the Megaline series, and Euphoria, where some of the technology featured in the EpiCore 11 was first introduced and continuously developed all the way through to the previous flagship Epicon series that won an ISA award in 2013. Since then, the company has worked tirelessly to expand the offerings with wireless speakers, headphones, and basically every kind of speaker type needed in modern homes. For almost 10 years, the Epicon series represented the flagship offering from DALI that now has grown into a major speaker manufacturer, featuring the most modern production methods in-house, pumping out speakers to many countries all over the world. So, what is next from the low-key Jutlanders from Nørager? For that, we need to zoom to the top of the product tree. At the 2022 high-end show in Munich, DALI revealed just what was up by presenting the epic 360 pounds of speaker flagship, not revolutionizing but rather perfecting DALI's proven technologies to the extreme without annoying limitations such like aiming for a specific price, to pave the way for future DALI high-end offerings, where the first to follow is the amazing Epicor 11, basically being a bit scaled down version of the Core at half the price. So pay attention here, as this might be one of the best music communicators we have heard so far, and the groundwork laid down here seem destined to spawn even smaller, even more affordable models in the future. So let's look at it in detail, shall we? For a traditional box speaker design, this is as beautifully made as it gets. Just wow. The craftsmanship of the Epicor 11 is impeccable. The woodwork, the perfect lacquer finish, all the way down to the big, lush terminals. And even though it's a big speaker, the shape and pretty slim appearance makes for a speaker that won't take over the room. In fact, it's a bit like the singer-actor Hannah Waddingham, tall, chunky, in all the right places, intelligent, charming, and beautiful. What's not to like?
Except my wife, of course.
Currently, buyers can choose from 3 finishes. This one for review is the walnut, but a high-gloss maroon and a high-gloss black is also available currently. The beautiful cabinet packs all in-house developed drivers consisting of 4 8-inch bass drivers, a marvelous 6.5-inch mid-range, and the advanced all-new Evo K hybrid tweeter module, resulting in a 4.5-way ported system. To tell you more about it, I hand over the speaker to our tame speaker builder and new listening team member Sebastian, aka The Duck.
Welcome to the Duck's Corner. First of all, DALI has made a great job of making a crossover that makes the amplifier works at its best. So it is an easy load. Actually, the double basses are coupled in pairs but are crossed over at different frequencies. And that makes it very interesting because we can get rid of the floor bounce. We don't like this floor bounce because it sounds strange to our ears that we are missing the 200 to 300 hertz region. And this way of doing it will totally put away that suck out in the mid bass. And I like that idea very much. Very clever thinking. The mid-range driver is made from some paper pulp and with an extremely advanced motor system that makes the driver really, it's just unbelievable how much power and dynamic we can get out of this mid-range. The tweeter is actually a little bit bigger than a normal tweeter. This is 35 millimeters, so you can cross over a bit lower to the mid-range. And above here we have the ribbon that has to bring it in about 10k above this tweeter, because this will be more directive about 10k. So to have the even dispersion also in the high frequencies, they bring in this little ribbon tweeter at 10k, and it's very clever engineering. I like it very much, and it definitely pays off in the listening position.
The result of all this engineering brilliance is a speaker that offers ultra-wide frequency response, extremely low distortion, great sensitivity, high power handling, up to 1,000 watts, they say, wide dispersion characteristics in the entire frequency range, and yet it's very easy to drive, thus getting the most from almost any amplifier. We reviewed it using the House Reference Amplifier's new Prime Evolution 2s, and also with the new Hegel H600 integrated amplifier that proved to be an excellent, smooth and polished sounding partner for the Epicor 11, offering plenty of power, extreme control and a nice bite from the new DAC inside, resulting in ear-caressing sweet music. This is worth taking into consideration that you might not need to spend the same amount of money on amplifiers that you would with other speakers. If you're interested in more on the Epicor 11 engineering and want to totally nerd out, Dali done a 38-page white paper on the Epicor 11 that can be downloaded on their website for an in-depth tour. You find the direct link in the description of the video. The entire team found the Epicor 11 to be great looking. Of course, there's a nice front fabric available as well, included with the speaker. With that, we end up with what it's all about: the rather awesome music experience. The manual recommends a distance between 1 to 3 feet to the back wall. We ended with 3 feet and pulled the speakers about the same from the side walls. The room has a couple of small bumps in the base that were easy to live with, and they could also be totally ironed out using room correction with the Linkdorf TDI 3400. But we opted to listen without, as nobody found it disturbing in any way. Here's a quick single-point frequency response measurement made at the listening position with no correction at all. And here how it looks after correction by the 3400. We use both the Hegel H600 integrated amplifier and the Yamaha C5000/new Prime Evolution combo for amplification, and I like both combinations very much. The bit leaner sound of the H600 proved to work very nicely, feeling a smidge smoother and laid back, while still backed with tremendous power from that 300-watt built-in amplifier. With the Hegel, we used its new internal DAC, while the C5000 combo was used with the Cocktail X45 Pro, DACing away as a Roon endpoint. Vinyl was handed over to the Technics SL1200G with an Autophon LVB250 cartridge amplified by the Parasound phono amplifier that you can hear in this special comparison review. Find the link in the description. All the primary speaker, power and interconnect cables was the in-acoustic reference air cables using air as an insulator.
Und das ist die Reference.
All listening was conducted individually with the listening team members, and quickly became clear that the Epicor 11 is one amazing music communicator. Our senior listener, Carsten, quickly got into his most happy state after a couple of his favorite test selections, saying,
Jeg sidder jo også både med hænder over hovedet, og det hele det kører på mig, ikke? Ja. Altså, jeg synes, det er helt sindssygt. Jeg tror, det er nogle af de bedste, vi har hørt.
The very experienced listener Sebastian, who also is an avid speaker builder himself with a preference for active horn systems, he got his bearings readjusted too.
I'm highly impressed by the sound, actually. The first that was brought to me was the dynamics and the extreme transparency and speed of the sound.
Der skulle ikke gå mange sekunder på den der Mighty Sam McLean, når vi startede med det. Så vidste jeg bare, at det Det er rigtig godt.
Bjarke, our young musician, expressed very much what mirrors my first impressions.
It's very crisp. It's very organic. The sound image sounds very wide. So there's room or air in between each instrument, each sound. They both sound good. In the higher frequencies, the middle and the bass, you can very finely hear both the small details. Musical, they're very bright and very warm at the same time, and they, when you hear the big elements of the music, they feel very punchy and very much. It's like in your face, but very in a good way. When we heard more classical music and jazz, it was clear to hear the small individual elements in the music. And as soon as the kick drum or instruments such as the trumpet or something else, it was like smack in your face. It was really just kapow, was just right there.
Sound engineer Tim recognized a real hi-fi speaker here.
I think you can easily become good friends with them. They're very pleasing. They're not going to push anybody away or give anybody a bad experience. And sitting here with Morten, where we played through lots of different numbers and quite loud at times as well, it was never a time where you felt it became too sharp or too overbearing or anything. So that calmness that I was sometimes thinking it was a little bit too less in the urgency of the midtones helped when you're listening for several hours, maybe quite loudly, stuff like that. It's always a pleasant experience. You've got detail, you've got clarity, and very capable bass extension. So if you give them enough signal to work with, then there's plenty of power down there and controlled power. So I can easily see you slowly get to quite fall in love with these ones quite easily.
This is one musical and delightful speaker. The crisp tonality is sweet at the same time, served with a speed that puts it in a class of its own. With very hard in-your-face metal, the clarity might be a tad too much, but for everything else it's just mesmerizing, portraying vocals and horn instruments with a perfect smoothness, while balancing that clarity and attack that makes you think of horn-like speed and dynamics, never ceasing to amaze the listeners, garnished with a scale so big that we never really found its true limits. Several of the listening sessions peaked at 105 dB SPL in the listening position, and even the mighty, maddest Cincinnati Pops Orchestra recording of the 812 Overture, you know, that special Tellac record you don't even dare to play. Those insane dynamics, taking the woofers and amps to their maximum, did not humble the Epicor 11. In fact, try this yourself and find out what we mean when we talk about the importance of headroom in amps and speakers being matched with room size and listening distance. For the biggest of bass heads like my son Marcus, loving electronic dance music and hip-hop, there can never be enough physical bass. His music is often consumed on bass-heavy headphones or heard in big clubs. Conveying that feeling to the extreme naturally requires even more bass pressure from speakers like this.
De er stadig meget ærlige og meget stram. Højt og meget sådan clean, ikke? More bass. Jeg savner sgu lidt bund.
Okay, now have you ever been with a player? Take you there, catch me or I go Houdini.
That said, Marcus was the only listener expressing missing more bass in the unprocessed natural playback we exercised at the sessions.
Bass, amazing. Mid-range. I'm surprised about the voice echoation. It's better than I expected. Especially the bass, I gotta say. And the 3D sound, wow.
It's a very well-defined and open-sounding bass too that impressed the rest of the team with punch and presence. Their biggest strength is that they actually loves all kind of music. Even stuff that are not very well recorded are presented in a very listenable package, meaning that everything from that classic opera to the kids' hyper-compressed 808 bass autotune mayhem just shines. In fact, an old mono recording like I'll Be Glad When You're Dead, You Rascal You, performed by Louis Prima, can even shine and kept me engaged. The Epicor 11 presents a very holographic soundstage. The sense of singers and musicians standing there before you in a well-defined space is strong and becomes highly addictive in combination with the speed, clarity, that soundstage and scale. Both Bjarke, Lars and Martin kept talking about the experience of height. In short, the musical portray is amazingly engaging all around. The compromise with such enjoyable all-round musicality can be a bit of a lack of absolute truth that works in favor of specific recordings, but showcases all the shortcomings in less than perfect recordings. The Epicor 11 favors the many and creates a highly addictive stage for all music to feel alive at the expense of a little bite that is traded for a wonderful smoothness that I think will be perfectly suited for real-world domestic rooms and will have you engaged for years and years. Carsten, Sebastian and Lars went so far to declare the Epicor 11 the best box speaker they have ever heard, and I'm right behind them. Noget specielt, du har lyst til at høre?
Det hele. Så du kan ikke lade mig sammenligne lidt med genlæggerne der. De var dynamiske, bevares, men det her, det er jo musik.
The majority also commented after long, lively listening sessions that they felt absolutely no listening fatigue.
And I've been here more than 2 hours, nothing but listening at very high levels and no fatigue.
Yeah. Did you notice how they play at lower volumes?
Yeah, I've thought about it when I arrived actually, where you had some music ongoing with a low volume, but you still felt the power of the speaker. And sometimes speakers sort of disappear if it's a small speaker or if it's not a good speaker, but it still had weight in the room.
In everyday life, even listening to radio, I found myself preferring them in almost any situation, at any volume, and that says a lot about a speaker's true inner quality. Listening team members have been expressing a huge amount of excitement for the Epicor 11, even calling me after their sessions, asking if they can drop by to hear it again, bringing their friends to hear it, and so on. That tells a story in itself about the level of awe and excitement the Epicor has created with its sound. What strikes me most is the level of perfection achieved. And here I'm not talking about some mathematical perfection. No, I'm talking about musical balance, the kind that takes several lifetimes to find and get just right. Carsten, once again, was the one who expressed it in a great uncomplicated way, saying, "It has a really muscular sound, but at the same time it manages to be your chill, cozy uncle, warming you, making you feel good. You just sit there thinking, my God, this just sounds so delicious on everything, and it still has such punch and scale. I don't think you can get tired of listening to this speaker ever. It just disappears, and all that is left is the music." Yes, Epicor 11 just loves music. Listening to that old mono recording will still give you layers of depth. The latest EDM banger will punch you in the face, and dynamic jazz feels free and unrestricted, and even the biggest classical and opera pieces in an effortless way. It's a speaker system that just draws you in and urges you to just listen, not for flaws, but with the ability to fully open the door to the soul of your music. That's not a small achievement in my book. At the same time, it manages to be a traditional, practical speaker system given its performance that can blend into most decors and not occupy a huge chunk of floor space. The DALI stubbornness to keep pursuing and perfecting the same fundamental good ideas seem to have really paid off. Then there's the elephant in the room, the price. I will go so far to call the Epicor 11 a disruptor in the high-end audio space, as these speakers will call out your 2, 3, 4 times more expensive Magico, Wilsons, JBLs, and make them look retardedly expensive.
Catch my point?
40,000 euros, $60,000 is naturally no small amount of money.
But I assure you something gets lost in the translation.
We think the Epicor 11 will force other speaker manufacturers to look at their pricing models again, to be honest. So where is the competition really? I would love to compare the Epicor 11 to something like the PS Audio Aspen FR30, that on paper is a original created with similar goals in mind. Unfortunately, efforts to get a pair in front of the listening team has not been fruitful so far, but we are not giving up and continue to tease Paul McGowan,
that's my strategy,
CEO of PS Audio, to let us hear his speaker vision come alive here in Europe.
Paul?
I'm calling you out. Let's settle this once and for all, Run.
Any music lover owns it to themselves to hear these wonderful, capable ladies, and they should appear on any shopping shortlist for speakers up to 200,000 euros. And waiting backstage, ready to challenge just that. The 80,000 euro Rido TD 3.8 that I've been looking forward meeting in person in this room ever since I tested its baby brother, the TD 1.2. Now stand by for the pros, the cons, and the Dream Speaker score. And remember, we will know everything and even be able to achieve world peace when we just listen. Thank you for watching and see you soon back on the channel.
Feel free in the meantime to enjoy the many other reviews organized on the channel page.
You got that, maggots? Good.